It's Thanksgiving, and thousands are stranded in traffic. As holiday commutes grind to a halt, the public is calling loudly for one thing: commuter rail. Could it be the answer for getting everyone home on time? Welcome back to episode 7 of Subway Builder in Boston. It's been a little bit. We did a live stream doing some fixes from episode 6, as well as adding some new stations. It was a fun time, and let's go over some of the changes I made. So the first one was we split our light metro route. Let's take the demand snaps off. We split our light metro into 2 distinct loops. This first silver line just kind of stays around downtown and goes clockwise and counterclockwise. And then we have this new aqua line, which runs through Seaport and some of South Boston and terminates downtown. Because I found a lot of people in South Boston weren't really using this, and still they aren't, but we might see that change today. The next is we quadded all of our red line and yellow to Harvard, as well as adding a new station for pink at Central so they could each have their own platform. With that, I should say we added our yellow line all the way to Harvard and extended it into the city of Belmont, which is here, and we have it ending at Waverly, which will be a commuter rail stop in the future. And then we also extended our teal line. It was currently ending, I think, at North Station or Government Center. We extended it down the orange line to Nubian, where it splits off and goes down here into Dorchester. So we have a couple stops ending at Mattapan Square. And the last change from the live stream was we added 2 new stations, our North Station as a quad and a new quad station at South Station. And these will be for our commuter rail lines this episode. And that's just so we don't have any overlap from our existing 2 heavy metro rails. And then you can also see we have our crossover for our silver and our aqua line right here at the South Station as well. So they make a nice big station grouping right here. I should also say there was an update. They added a lot of cool things and a lot of bugs, I should say, as well. So we are gonna have to watch out for that. And last episode, you can see, I'll show our route ridership. It actually dropped down. It was at like 200K last episode. It dropped down a little with the new update, but because we hit that 200K, I added in our 5 billion or so. We did spend around 2 to 3 billion that we had left over in the live stream to build new stations and reconfigure a lot of downtown and beyond. So now our commuter rail. I'll pull up a picture of the current commuter rail system that Boston uses, and the biggest drawback is that North and South Station are not connected. So these are basically terminus stations. You can't get from, greater South Boston to greater North Boston. For instance, looking at the map, Quincy up to Salem. So that's what we're going to address today. I have a map of basically all the city's boundaries overlaid onto our current maps to see where we need to build today. The current commuter rail system in real life is dictated by zones. As you can see, the farthest our map goes to is about zone 4 or 5. So that's where our ending stations are going to be today. So there's no commuter rail option in the game currently, but we're going to operate it like such, with low frequency, 10 cars instead of 5, long gaps between stations, and we're going to run it at grade as much as possible. And basically any station outside downtown will be at grade to save on costs. We're gonna have 8 new routes today. One is gonna run like an Amtrak route, which, in our headcanon would leave our map and go beyond. So it's gonna copy the current Northeast and Acela line to downtown, which runs through the Canton Junction you guys will see later, and I'll point out. And we're gonna actually extend it up to Salem, and that would be the terminus station. In real life, we can think of it coming from New York and heading up to Maine. So we'll have 2 routes. We'll have our Acela and our Northeast, just to pay homage to the real life Amtrak. And then we'll have 1 new heavy metro line, which will be in Quincy, which will just run as an extension off our South Station. And this will be our RLQ line. And then we'll have 6 distinct commuter rail lines shown on screen. With all that prep out of the way, let's jump right into it. Okay, our first route is going to be our Amtrak line, and that's just so we can get our Salem station built and a Canton station built, which Canton is this town right here, I believe. We're also going to use this on our J line later on in the episode. So we're going to have it right here. I see there's some population. I'm going to be trying to follow kind of these population in lines. So this Amtrak line, we're gonna imagine would, head down from here and continue on here. But to make it realistically, we're gonna have a quad station first right here in Salem, and we're gonna build it at grade, and we're gonna try to put it like right here, I believe. We need to make it quad. And then this part is all gonna have to be underground, underneath this road, and then we'll have it at grade, connecting up to our previously built blue line down here. And then we'll also have our station back in Canton, and it's gonna be tough to find some of these areas, so I'm gonna keep demand stats on, so I kind of remember where to put what. And this station, I think in real life is right here. We're gonna build it right here, just so we can keep it at grade, and it will be close enough to these bubbles. And then we'll also have later on a station right here, which is the town of Stoughton. So now we're just gonna connect up this line through our orange line for a piece of it to South Station, connect to North Station, and then build some rails up connecting to the blue line. And then these blue line is gonna share the commuter rail for 2 new lines, and we'll share some of the blue line. So first, I'm just gonna build through, and I'll make any comments along the way. Oh, and I should mention, anytime we go over road with primarily commuter rail line, as we're doing today, we're gonna try to just make it elevated. I don't know exactly where these crossovers are and if they are elevated or not, but to make it easy, I'll work backwards, where I'll just build the elevated portion first and then connect them to. And I realized already I messed up, because this should all be parallel to keep our costs down. And a lot of our routes will be different today than what they are in real life, because we are able to connect North and South Station. But some of these routes will follow very similar paths, because it will allow us to kind of cut through the landscape. As you see right here, it allows us to achieve our goal of staying at grade as much as possible, because as you know, we can't intersect with the roads or we'll get warnings. And I know we're gonna have a station, I believe right here. This is the city of Reedville. I can see there's a ton of demand around this area. And because we're gonna be following this line all the way to the orange line, we are gonna build the stations that I know we're gonna need later on. So we're gonna build this, I think right here, because you can see there's a train line right here that eventually hits Mattapan Square, and this will be a part of one of our other lines today. So in order to have a nice turn right here, we're gonna put our station back here. And I think for now, we're gonna be able to keep it as a parallel, because you see this train line come through. This is gonna have to be pretty short and probably start right here. I think we're gonna do parallel for now. Let's have it short enough so we can go over the road right here. And a lot of these kind of where I'm just building long straight parts, I will just be using a time lapse for today, but I will try to jump in whenever I kind of want to explain anything. Like for instance, this is at 5, this height, and if we extend it out here, this whole track would be technically on a ramp. So what we need to do is bring it down quickly, and then we'll save on our at grade costs. And then every time there's a road, we'll either go above or over it, depending on the situation. For instance, this long piece, we'll probably just go over this whole thing. And I know I wanted another station here. It is a little bit close to this Reedville stop, but if we ever bring down the orange line this way, I did want to stop right here. So we're gonna have a very tiny stop right here. And this is gonna be our Hyde Park, I think. Yeah, our Hyde Park station right here. And then to connect into our Forest Hills, I'm gonna run a quad track, I think a little bit out. Let's see, let's first disconnect our D line We're going to leave this and we're going to have a flyover because I believe this track is going to be used by another route later on. So in order to do this correctly where we can have space for a flyover later, we're going to keep this at -9 and just bring it straight right here. And there'll be enough space for a flyover later on going down this pathway, which you can kind of follow. We'll have a station here. And I believe this is the town or city of Needham. And we'll head over here on another route. So we'll just bring this and that should give us enough room. And then we should be able to run all this at grade from there. We're using up quite a bit of the alphabet, and we're going to use a little bit more today. I want a unique initial for each route. So, and I'll post all our routes at the end of the video that we have named to see, you know, what letters we have open or if we should change any. As always, if you have any suggestions for names, let me know. So that's all connected up. So now we have our southern branch to Canton right here. I think for now we'll leave our D stop at Jamaica Plain. We won't worry about that. And now we have our quad station. Where is it? In Salem. And to connect to that, we're gonna have to bring our blue line all the way up. And I know there needs to be a stop, I think right here, a new station in Swampscott, it's called. And I think I'm gonna put that right here. Get any of this population that's not taking this Revere Beach station. And then we're also gonna have a stop right here, somewhere in this area, because if I go to my demand stats, there's a college, I think it's Salem State, if I'm correct. So we'll have a stop right here actually. And it will be a little bit close to the Salem, but I think it will be all right. So let's actually build that way. And right here, we'll need to head underground. And yeah, so, and I think the quad will just branch off into singles, into a parallel track under here. And then for this, I think if I bring this back just a little bit right here, we shouldn't have any issues hitting the road because we're gonna have to go up to that at grade elevation. So I think in order to do this correctly, we're gonna have to just bring it far enough and out, maybe right there. Let's see if that works. And then we can drop it down. And let's see if that allows us. Yeah, that slope is fine. And then that way we can connect these two up. And the tracks cannot overlap. Okay, we found a little spot right there. That way we can have multiple different stops here. This station, I believe, is underground. So we're gonna have to find a place, I think right here, large enough to bring it from under the ground to an elevated. And it's a little bit wonky, but it's all right. We'll live with that. So now we need a way to connect this route up to our north station, which is now down here. We know, or I know at least, that I'm gonna have a route come from here, and then we're gonna have another one go through Sullivan Square. The only other option would be to branch off right here, have it come down and then swoop into North Station. That's a possibility too I haven't considered. That would cut down on some time, and I don't plan for any stations here because we will have a commuter rail stop along this for our Junction Line. We'll be stopping here. So let's do that. Let's delete all this. And then right here, we'll have it branch off from Chelsea. That way we can get one extra stop. And the Amtrak won't be stopping here, because remember, this is the Amtrak line, as well as one of our, it's going to be our north-south line, I believe, going up to Salem and then ending at Beverly, which is the town above that quad station we just built. Okay, that should be a good, nice little, there we go, that works. And now for our north station, I know I need a rail going straight and a rail going left, and then this rail will just be going straight or directly to the right. So we'll build our quad track going out to like maybe right here. I know I'm gonna have a route coming underneath the highway, so it's actually gonna have to be underground no matter what. So right here we'll have kind of where we want our rail to split off. So we're gonna have a junction right here. So I'm actually gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna have this, our middle track, be our sloping track to -5. So we're gonna bring that out straight. And then this is gonna have a really crazy turn. And I don't like that. So let's delete this part. So we'll have a couple different lines running through here, but that should work. And now we're gonna add a crossover to our north station, as well as, for now, before we build our station in Beverly, just connect these two up. And we're also going to go down to Canton, our southern Amtrak station, and add a crossover. And let's see how much this whole project, this cost us $1 billion. But we built a decent number of tracks. Let's see if it works. So we'll go to our routes tab. And I said before in previous episodes, we're gonna use this triangle and we're gonna use purple to pay homage to the real commuter rail in Boston. And then this is gonna be a 10 car with high demand, with 2 high demand and 1 medium demand for now. And then let's add in our route. And I think because this is the last station, we'll have it stop in the middle. It won't be stopping at any of these stations along the way. And then we could have it stop in Chelsea maybe. We'll debate on that. Because it's regional rail or national rail, I'm not completely sure the term. It really would only have a stop in major cities. Although Salem's not a major city in this area, it is. It would really just be stopping at North Station and South Station in Boston. And I think, let's see, it's going to be on the outer rails, it looks like. Okay, and we didn't connect up South Station, I'm realizing. So our route goes to, yeah, it goes to Orange, and then we forgot to connect it. So how we're going to do that is where I think we're going to disconnect it right after Forest Hills. And it's going to follow this path right here. And then we're actually going to have a stop at Back Bay, which let's build that now. And this is going to have 3 different lines, I believe, running through it. And this is going to have to be at -11. And it's kind of on a curve. So we're actually just going to push it in this area. And then it's going to run underneath the highway. And we'll build this as a quad. And we have a lot of lines over here. And I don't want any of them at the same height. So currently the South Station's at 20, I believe. Let's see. It's at 21. No, it's at 19, it looks like, from that. No. I'm not doing it right. It's at 23. Yeah, because that's a station. So for that, let's see how we want to bring it. We want to bring our quad rail to right here. And we're going to have a rail come from the south for our red line, or for one of our commuter rails coming south. And that's going to be a parallel line that I believe is going to stay on the inside, and then all these tracks need to be going on the outside. So we'll have this swing over, and we can just drop it to 15 right here. And that will be going under this track, which is at -11. And then we'll also have a parallel track. Let's do this instead. Let's bring that in. And we'll worry about this rail later on, because this needs to be a quad track going back. Yes. But what we will need to do is make sure our commuter rail, Amtrak, I should call it, and also our J is going to be on the outside rails at this back bay station. So we don't need a crossover later on. So let me experiment with this and I'll come back. Okay, so my solution is to bring this to -15 to like right here, and that way we can have a flyover for our outer rails, and then we'll just bring this down to 21 because we're gonna have our rail kind of skirt next to Fenway underneath all of Boylston. So now we can just connect up this station, its outer rails, to our Forest Hills, and then we'll be done with this one route. And then we'll just have to head down, and let's go backwards. And right here, we're gonna have to branch off somewhere. And I think it's gonna be a little bit complicated, and maybe not so. It seems like right here should be fine. Okay, there we go. And we have both of our crossovers built. Let me check, yes. So now, this extra piece costs another 800 million. We are spending quite a bit of our budget today, but that's all right. So now we have our AM line, and let's see if this route works. Okay, so this looks like a 43-minute journey from the top of our map to the south of our map. And we're running a 10 car, and we're running 2 trains and 1 medium demand train. We can increase these in the future, but because we're adding so many routes today, I feel like it's going to start to slow down our game, so we are going to have to worry about that. So now let's just go through and name the stations that we've built. So this is going to be, for some reason it thinks there's 2 right here. See, this is a bug. Completing a station will sometimes give you 2. So we'll see if that's going to cause any issues. So this thinks it's near the library, which is going to be our back bay station. This is going to be Reedville, the city of Reedville. And then this is going to be Hyde Park. And you can see, there's our station right here, just not showing up. It is still working, I believe. Currently, it's just not showing up. I could try to fix that later in the episode. We'll see if it's working or not. So we have Salem. This is Salem State, I believe. And our station right here was gone. So let me actually add that in. So we should be able to connect this in easily. Nice little infill station. And then this is going to be Swamp Scott. And we can change any of these names. These are based on the town or city that they are in, because these are going to be like more commuter rail. So you kind of want a general name for the area. And let's add in our route. And we'll hit confirm. And that's just one route we have today. We have 7 other routes to get to. But some of the tracks we built currently are going to be shared by other routes. So we did get a lot of work done in that regard. And we spent around 2 billion. But that's all right, because we built a lot of the track, like I said, that we'll need later on in this episode. Okay, the next route I wanted to build was a north-south connector. This would start in Foxborough, which we're actually not going to connect to because I can show up my demand. And, it's nothing's labeled down here. There's not even roads. But I know that Foxborough, where the New England Patriots play, is right here. So I do want to put a station there, but our actual start of the station will be in this city, which is Norwood. And this will act as kind of a central connector throughout all of Boston, and it will be reusing some of the track we used up here. And then all these dots over here are the city of Beverly. So we'll have our ending station actually end right here. So let's start and build a station in Beverly, which I'm gonna put right here. It looks to be some commercial in this area. Let's keep our demand stats while we're working. And I wanna focus on just getting near the biggest bubbles. So we're gonna have a parallel station right here, and then we'll just connect this up to our Salem. Okay, so this is going to be our absolutely last stop on this north-south line, which we're going to call our N line. And it's actually going to be stopping at a fair bit of these stations. And from here, I think we're going to reuse the track we use for our Amtrak line, because the main purpose is to connect Salem and Beverly to central Boston. I had it before going around, stopping at Encore and Sullivan. I don't think that's necessary. We'll just reuse these tracks. And then we'll come through South Station. I sent it to Upham's Corner in my notes, which is our station right here. And you can see kind of the rail line as it runs. So what we'll do is then we're gonna have to think about how this line is gonna get into South Station. So maybe we run a quad track off of our current track, which is at 21, and maybe from right here. And this is just all gonna have to be an at-grade junction. And then we could have a flyover. And because we have such low frequency, these intersections shouldn't be an issue for our purple lines. And let's see where we need to go. So we need to go here. Let's put a station here. So we'll have it like right here. And like downtown, I don't think we're gonna be able to have many, if any, at-grade stations. Or not downtown, but in the city of Boston. And then we're gonna need to run this to about right here, it looks like. And then right here, I want our flyover to be in a big enough area. I don't think we're gonna run any rail in this area now. So it looks like our junction could be in this area, maybe underground. So let's bring our quad, let's drop it down, and we'll have it come right here. And then right here, we can have it drop under, because we just need to drop it under real quick. And we're gonna have some elevation issues. And that's because this isn't low enough. So we'll have a little fly under there to connect them up. And then yeah, we might see issues here. It's getting a bit chaotic, if I will say. We'll see. Okay, so we have now connected all of this route down here to Upham's Corner. We are gonna have a stop here, and just because it's so close to Columbia and MLK Square. Also, I haven't shown you guys the new names, so actually let's do that real quick. We have MLK Square, Franklin Park, Morton Ave, and Mattapan Square. Those are all open to be renamed if you think they need to be. This is now Beacon Hill. This is one I asked last episode. I like Beacon Hill the most. That's this little neighborhood right here in Boston. And then as well as we have A Street and F Street. This is a new station that we didn't have last episode. This can also be renamed if you think so. And we'll leave F Street because this is on F Street right here, or right here. Okay, let's go back. Where were we? Oh, we're right here. Upham's Corner. So our next station is going to be at Talbot Avenue, which is right here, I believe. Yes. We're going to have a little station right here. And it's going to be, because we want to keep it at grade, we're going to push it just right here. And you can see where the in real life station is. And we'll have it right here. And that should give us enough. And I think I think we're gonna run most of this, or all of it, just couldn't cover it, just to save a lot of heartache. So this will be Talbot, just named after the street. If you have a different name, let me know, but this street right here is Talbot. And then our next station is going to be intersecting with Mattapan Square on our teal line. And I think this is going to have to be, we could have it right here at grade, but then it's going to have to go over the road right here. We have to remember. So let's have it right here and see if that gives us enough distance on both sides to go over. And it looks like we're gonna have to demolish one building. That's all right. So now we have our Mattapan Square commuter rail station. So our next is we're gonna connect into that Reedville station from before right here, which now I'm realizing I wonder if we should make it a quad station. We'll worry about that later. I know I'm gonna follow the route here. So let's make all this at grade. So now that it's on this branch, let's see where it goes next, where we want it to go next. I wanted to kind of connect the north to the south, and I said Foxborough, so it's going to Norwood, if I can remember. Yeah, Norwood Central is going to be our last station actually over here, which is in this area. We have the airport. Yeah, this is all Norwood right here. So how did I want to connect this up? It looks like we're actually going to have to use... This is where we're going. Okay. So let's see what we can get away with right here. Maybe not much. Okay. We'll do that. So we're going to bring this down. And I don't think we're going to have a stop anywhere along here. I think we're just going to have a station. Let's see. Let's go right here, because I see there's some demand down here. Is this no, this is a housing complex, I believe. So let's put our station at grade right here. And this will be our last station on our north-south line. And I think maybe we'll only have these two stops at Reedville. I was just misremembering what we were putting there. And for this, we'll have this elevated. Oop. We'll bring this to elevated right here. Okay, that looks pretty nice. So that's our whole north-south line built now. And I did say I wanted to build a Foxborough Stadium. To make it cheap, we'll keep it light metro, and we're just gonna have it at grade. I believe it's like right here, and that's just like a little bit of homage, and that doesn't add much to our cost currently. So let's add our crossover here, and then we can add in our stops. And our total cost for this project was 1.29, and we're not letting the game run at all, just because I think it's going to introduce some lag. So I'm going to build all the routes first, and then run the game for maybe a couple days, and then show you guys the results. And this is going to be our end line for north-south, and let's make it a triangle. And this one is going to have a stop in Reedville right here. It's going to stop at Mattapan, and let's see if we have any issues. Okay, it connects. That's good news. I'll have a stop here. This is the one stop I'm thinking we could delete later in the future. We'll see how much usage this rail does get. I haven't tested actually any of the routes. We just have to be careful about how many trains we're putting on which rails. And this will just have a lot of stops. So we'll have a stop in Chelsea, we'll have a stop in Revere Beach. We'll have a stop in Lynn. And this will have it stop on the outer rails. So let me confirm that. And let's connect in our outer rails. Yeah, so that's gonna stop on these outer rails, and then we'll have it stop Beverly. And see how it's moving? It moves. Yeah, I don't know why it does that. I don't think it's gonna cause us any issues. We'll see if it does. Beverly. You can see the Salem station we made earlier got shifted up. I think if I just mess around with some of the stations, the names and like the routes, it should fix it. It still thinks the station's here. It's just the placement of the name. I don't think it causes any issues from what I've seen. And now let's just make sure we have our back bay station. Yeah, that's named. See, that went back after I loaded the game back up. So we'll see if I save and quit, if that fixes that, that bug. And it looks like since we reuse a lot of stations, we only have to name this one, and this will just be Norwood. And there we go. Our second commuter rail line is done. And I think that's for both that are going to go up to Salem for today. Because we have a lot of this route built already, we're going to add on, and we're going to build our J for Junction Line. I couldn't come up with a good name for this. So if you have a name, let me know. It's going to start in Stoughton down here, and it's going up to Reading up in this northern part. And I can show on the demand stats, there is some chunk down here. Oh, and this is one of the updates, was adding of the marquee tool. If you hold shift, and you can see it draws lines to where people are going, which is very helpful, especially like in kind of like these areas. Like this is the city of Quincy below Boston. You can drag all this and you can just see, and if you have enough points selected, enough people, it won't draw the lines, which I actually find more visually appealing. So we are going to have some routes down here to Quincy today. But first, we're going to build in Stoughton, which is this downtown right here. And we're going to have it connect up to our line right here. And this is going to follow a very similar path of the Amtrak line. And that's why I was considering making Reedville a quad station, because this is going to be our third line through it. So we'll see in the future if we need to do that. And it's going to go through and follow this back bay route through South Station, through North Station. And then it's going to skip Community College and connect up to the Orange Line, going up here. And I believe, let's see, what kind of route. We're following the same route in real life, or a very similar one, I should say. And we're going to have a stop here. We're going to have a stop actually up here for Melrose, like North Melrose. We're going to have a stop in Wakefield. And then we're going to have a stop in Reading, which is right here, I believe. I'll check my map before I have these two stations built. Let's go back down and build from the south. And what's nice is we already have a lot of the stations built on this route. So we really aren't going to be spending as much money as the video goes along. Let's keep our demand stacks pinned because it helps me kind of place the stations. So we need to get up there, and we'll start here. And we're gonna have a station, I think, kind of pushed a little over here. That way we can run it at grade. And I'll connect in these two stations and then get back to you. Okay, we have that connected up, and let's add our crossover before we forget. It's a little wonky, but it works. We'll have a stop in Canton, we'll have a stop in Reedville. And I think it shouldn't be an issue just running multiple lines on this, because we were not gonna have too many trains for this system. And it's gonna go through Forest Park, and using this rail right here. And then it's gonna go to Back Bay, South Station. So right here, this is where the next junction needs to be. And I think I'm gonna bring this quad track back a little bit. And I'm gonna have to select quad track to make the node. We'll make it right there. We could bring it back even further, but I think that should be fine. Actually, let's see. Let's bring it further. And I need to figure out what height it needs to be here first. It's gonna come off our teal line, which I need to see what height that is at just right here in this location. I think it's at -11, and I think that's right. Okay. I think that should work, and it does. No, okay, it does. Awesome. Okay. So that was a big challenge when I was testing some of these routes before. So for that, let's just keep this at -9 then. And it's going to be on the outer tracks. We might need to start making some switchovers because we don't want too much traffic. We already have 2 lines on the outer tracks. Let's see. I know we're going to have a line come through from the west that's going to go on the inside. And then our line from the south is also going to go on the inside. So that's 2. So I think that should be all right to keep this on the outside. And let's see if we can't make that a little nicer. That looks better. Gets around this little building right here. Okay, so now it's going to follow along the orange. And this one is going to be skipping Sullivan Square, and it's just going to be stopping at Assembly. And then it's going to have a stop, I think right here. Let's see. Yeah, there's enough traffic for a stop right here, I believe. So we'll have this, and this will be like Melrose. I have it as Highlands. I think that's the real station name in real life. And what we're going to do is just build the stations first, and then we'll connect them up. And then we'll have a stop right here, and this is Wakefield. And where do I want to put it? I think right here. This looks like a good area. Gives us enough space to go up. And we could have sent this over here. My plan in the future is to have some big light metro system up here. I think there's enough capacity. We're going to have a light metro up here, as well as in Quincy. Probably one over here, and then one kind of in this Waltham, Brookline area. But for now, let's just focus on commuter rail. So we have another station there, and then our last station is going to be right here in Reading. And this is the last kind of population center up here. And we'll just put it where the actual station is, which looks to be right here, and we're going to offset it just a bit so we don't have any costs. We'll put it right there. And now let's connect up the tracks. So that's the northern part done of that route, and our southern part's already done. So let's add in this crossover and build. And what was that cost? I think that was around 700 million. So not too bad. And let's name. And this is the town of Reading. This is going to be Wakefield. And yeah, like I said, if you guys think any of these stations should be renamed, let me know. This is going to be Melrose, and we're going to call it Heights. That's a station in the area. We have our Melrose, or our Wyoming Hill station. That's Stoughton. And this already has a crossover. And this is going to be our J line. And let's see if this connects by just selecting the 2 terminus stations. And it does. That's very nice. And then Canton and Stoughton. And that looks nice. And we're going to do 10 car, our 2, and we're going to have to buy more. And I know we're going to need a lot today, so let's just buy like 35. Oh, we'll run a 3-2. I think that's what we're running for our north. Let me look. No, we didn't put any trains on our north, so let's run our 3-2. And we're going to need more. Let's buy more trains. Okay, nice. So now we have our junction and our north-south. So now we have 5 routes to go. Okay, the next route we are going to build is going to be our M line for Mass Central, because it's going to be running through the central of Massachusetts. And in real life, there is a big city outside of Boston. I think it's an hour drive, called Worcester, much like our Worcester Square stop. And in real life, there is a commuter rail connection. You know, like our Amtrak, how, you know, we're pretending it's leaving the map. This will also be leaving the map, but its last stop will actually be over here in Wellesley, I should say, which is right here. And I'll pull up the demand stats. And there are 2 universities here, so I think it's a really good stop for that. There is Wellesley College right here, or university, and then there is Babson right here. So we're gonna have a couple stops. We're gonna have a stop right here, and then it's gonna have a big gap just because there's not much demand. And then the next station will be over here, and this will be in Auburndale. And I'm thinking we're gonna have a stop over here for another commuter rail, so we're not gonna worry about all this population right now. And then we're gonna have another stop right here, I think Newtonville, right here, kind of north of Newton. We're gonna have a stop near Boston Landing. It's gonna be right behind, but they'll act as transfer stations. And then it's gonna go through, cut underneath the highway and our green line right here. We'll have a transfer station at Fenway right here. It will connect up to Back Bay. And because it's our fictional Worcester line, which is heading west outside of the map, it is just going to stop at North Station for now. And we'll have a little crossover in the middle or actually we'll have it crossover in the middle up here, obviously, but then we'll have a crossover somewhere right here. That way it's taking the inside lines at South Station and North Station. So let's get to building. So first, let me pin my demand stats. And we're going to have our station right here, and it should be close enough to the 2 colleges to get some of that some of the commuters there. And I'm going to just go through and build all the elevated sections. Okay, so that's all the elevated sections for this area. And now we can just connect them up. And right here, I think we'll have a curve right here. And our next station is going to be in Auburndale, which it looks like, I think it's back here, but we're going to push it right here just to get a little bit more demand. And I think we should be able to fit this in as our last at-grade stop for this line. We might have space. I think the next station's right here. Actually, we're going to have space to make that at-grade. If we're, yeah, like that. And let's actually just build in all the stations. And I've been building tracks, so let me fix that. I'll have a station there. And did I build a station at the end? Yeah, I did. Okay. And there is a big gap, but there is just no demand kind of in that first area. So I think it's all right, and it will make this line a little bit faster. The only spot I see is maybe right here. There's just no demand along this current path down in that part. And then we're gonna have a Boston Landing station right here. And we're gonna push it back just a little because we need to be able to get under. And we could use this we could use this track. I want to kind of avoid that. It would need a different type of track, I believe. You know, in this scenario, we can run this all at grade anyway. And then we'll have our parallel, and this is gonna have to be at -11, I think. Let's see, this is at -11, this whole portion of track. So it's gonna have to drop down actually. Let's see, can we even fit an at grade? That would be kind of interesting. No, because this building is gonna cost a lot, is my guess. Let's see. Yeah, that's 130 million. So to avoid any costs, We're going to build this at 15 right here, and it will be able to transfer with Fenway. And then did we build a Boston? We did build a station there. And we'll have, just so our tracks work, let's go up to North Station and we'll add a crossover in the middle. Let's find that right there. We could cross it over in the back too if we need to. And then right here, it doesn't really matter where, we're gonna need our outside line, or actually it's coming through in the middle anyway. So I don't even need to do that now that I realize. I forgot we had some track right here. Oh, so we planned ahead and it worked out well. I forgot, what height was this at though? 18? No, it was at 20, 21. And this will need to go under Boylston. Oh, it looks like there's a building here that's pretty deep. So let's just build this track, and this is gonna be quite expensive. And we'll connect this up around that building. Okay, and now we can connect all of it through. And now I want to run all this at grade. I don't actually, can we fit that in? That will be interesting. If we can, then it's meant to be. Yes, that looks nice. Okay, now let's connect up the rest. And this whole portion looks like we can save a little bit of money. We keep it at grade, away from the road. And then I think the rest of it will have to be elevated just because there's not enough space to go up and down, it looks like. And it's kind of a wonky turn right there, but it works. And did we add our crossover yet? No, we didn't. Let's add that, and then this route should be good. And let's see how much this costs. Another 1 billion. So we are running out of money. So we are gonna have to keep that in mind. Maybe we'll just add some to finish out today's episode, because we still have 4 more routes to go. And those are all gonna be kind of in this area, in Quincy, and then extending north, obviously. So this is going to be our M line for Mass Central. And let's give it a little triangle. And now let's test if this works. We'll select this station. And we know it is turning around at North Station. So let's click on the inner lines. And it works. Nice. Nice. And we're going to run our 3 trains. Maybe 2 and 1 medium demand, because I don't see much usage in this area. And now let's name these stations before we forget. And let me see if I can spell this right. Wesley. I'm gonna have to look this up. So that's Wesley Square. And then we have Auburndale. This is gonna be Newtonville. We have Boston Landing, which will share the name as our other station. We have Fenway. That's our first west line. That's going to be a wrap for today's episode. I actually ended up with over 3.5 hours of footage, so I'm going to split this into 2 parts. Part 2 will be coming out on Tuesday. You can see a sneak peek going on screen. We'll finish the commuter rail and take a look at the big impact it had on the system. I'll say that. Also, tomorrow, Sunday at 6 p.m., I'll be doing a live stream building a subway on a new map. So come check it out. One more update, I've introduced channel memberships. It's completely optional, but if you'd like to support the channel financially, that's a way to do so. And as always, I really appreciate all the ideas and suggestions you leave in the comments. They help a lot. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Bye bye.